Hey everyone. So in the last video I was showing you how we were going to mark an inch and a half from the top of our fabric, and then we were going to stitch it as we went across. We were going to go all the way across, and here you can see my stitch that I just made. I'm showing you both of them so that you can have a look at how both colors look. I purposely left my pins in that I used as a guide, but here you can see where I had the pencil mark all the way across so that my stitch would be straight. And if you look at this again, we were working with the top of our fabric. This is 1.5 inch from the top. This is the wrong side of our fabric, as you can see, so that when you flip it over, now you can see that this is the top stitch for the front of the valance when we hang it. So I just wanted to give you guys a look at what yours should look like when you're done. This is just a straight stitch, and as you can see, it's nice and straight because I took my time. And as I told you, I marked and I traced and I went all the way across to the end. One other thing I want to say to you guys, when you start, I purposely left the threads in. When you start from the tip of your fabric, make sure that you kind of reinforce this edge right here. What I do is I stitch forward, and then my machine has what's called the back stitch. I just hit the machine and I go back on it a little bit. So I reinforce it here. And the reason we want to reinforce it, because when we make our next stitch, I'm putting my finger in it. This right here is where we're going to put the rod in. Our next stitch will be whatever the measurements are for our rod. Okay, so we want to always make sure these ends are reinforced, because this gets most of the pushing, when you put your rod in. Okay, so make sure when you do yours, if you haven't done it already, make sure you stitch and back stitch to reinforce this particular area. So as you can see, like I told you before, if you're working with 4, you should have 4 new stitches on your the top of your valance. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we will measure what the length of this area right here should be, because this is where we want to insert our rods, and all of ours may be different depending on the type of rod you use. I believe mine is probably going to be, I'm just estimating now, but I will give you a definitive measurement when I come back, about 2.5 inches in order to get my rod in there to hang the valances. And I just wanted to say this one last thing. Remember what I told you about a seam ripper. It is your best friend, one of your best friends when you sew. So if you happen to notice that your stitch is not straight all the way across, just take that seam ripper and undo those stitches, because you still have an opening in here that you can just rip it apart by going inside this way, or you can just do it by putting your seam ripper in and taking out the stitches. So until we get to our next stitch, and we're really getting close to finishing these valances, until we get to our next stitch, please take the time to visit my website, Busta Wraps, BUSTAWRAPPS, BustaWraps.com. Thank you guys. Bye bye.